we just got out of Deadpool and Wolverine. And I'm going to be honest. I thought it was awesome.
It was awesome.
I really enjoyed it.
It was the best of the three.
The best of the three Deadpools?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I think that the previous Deadpools were like fine, but this was, no matter what, this was going to be the best one.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for it to be the best one.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, they kind of surprised me. I thought it was going to kind of just be fine, like the other two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of surprises in this one for me. For me, I enjoyed...
let's make this very clear, by the way, that there will be no spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers. No spoilers in this episode. It's just a review from our three angles. I went into this movie expecting to enjoy it the way I enjoyed all the other ones. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Hugh Jackman, having him back was amazing. I wish they would have done a little more justice for him, but it was just awesome having him.
What do you mean justice for him?
Well, I don't want to spoil anything. I think you'll go into it.
In review context.
In review context, I don't feel like he was Logan. I feel like he was a character in Deadpool.
I feel the exact same.
Yeah.
Not to take over your turn, but yeah, like it felt like he was just kind of there for the ride.
Yeah.
He was awesome though the whole time.
He was, but for having two movies previous building up for this moment, it was pretty epic right away, but then through the rest of it, I don't know. I didn't feel that Logan.
It felt like a different Logan.
It did. And in the spoiler review, we'll talk about how or why it may have felt like a different Logan.
It actually wasn't Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, there were some ADR issues that I noticed. There were a few different CGI moments that looked pretty crappy. So I don't know if it was like some CGI went to this studio and some went to that studio. They were little moments, but they were noticeable. However, the movie was so fun that I was able to look past all that. I think my review right outside the theater was higher than what I'm going to end with here at the end of this episode, just because it was in the moment. But overall, it was definitely the highest rated movie I would give since we started doing a podcast. The acting was really good. The humor was amazing, other than kind of the end multi-pool scene. I felt like that dragged down a little bit, but
multi-pool? Is that what you're calling it?
Yeah, the multi-pool.
Okay.
I don't know what else to call it without spoiling.
We'll call it the Deadpool orgy.
The Deadpool orgy. That's fair.
Okay.
I like that.
I liked multi-pool.
Yeah. I was trying not to give any spoilers out, but that was really my only big thing. I thought there were a lot of awesome cameos. I think that a lot of the cameos didn't get justice either, but it was really cool seeing a lot of those people in that movie.
I think they did a little bit of a better job than I thought they would with those extra cameos in the sense that like you could tell that they didn't bring them there just to have them there. Like they really
it kind of felt like it too though.
But they also like paid a lot of respect towards them, it felt like. More so than I would expect from a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Usually they're just kind of there. In this one, for some of them being there, their whole purpose of being there was almost like fourth wall breaking in that sense.
Yeah, it was. I'd agree with that.
So I think they did okay with that.
I don't entirely agree with you. I think that you see all these big names walk in and you're like, yeah, and then all of a sudden they're just kind of like there as side, like not even side characters. It felt way more cameo to me than story building. I think that it opens up the door for future places for these people. But for this movie specifically, it felt like a Deadpool movie that had Hugh Jackman in it, but very much tried to stay a Deadpool movie, even with the idea of Wolverine being as big as he is. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed 99% of it. It was good. It looked really good. The humor was on point. The brutality of it was awesome. Mm-hmm. Like some of those fights with Wolverine and Deadpool was so brutal, dude.
What would you say is your favorite aspect of Deadpool and Wolverine?
I don't know. I thought going into this it would be the dynamic between the two of them, but I also think that it was lacking in certain areas.
I agree,
the
actually.
I thought it would be more. Avoiding spoilers, Hugh Jackman is also witty like Ryan Reynolds, and I expected more of that. Whereas because of who he is in this version of Deadpool, I feel like he was more of a pussy than anything. Like, because he's not a pussy, but like
he's kind of mopey.
Yeah, he's depressed because of the past and stuff that's happened.
Right.
But it makes sense.
It does make sense.
That's that version of him.
Yes, and I like that. I think for me, going into a Deadpool Wolverine movie, having Logan back, I wanted Logan back. I didn't want this version.
Right, because if you're bringing back one of the most like iconic characters and actors, and they're not playing that version of themselves or a very, very similar version of themselves, you might as well just cast them as someone else at that point.
Yeah.
Because you lose, like, I still love the movie, but I feel like when you deviate a little too much to try and keep it its own thing, you kind of reach this point where you're like, well, it's sort of Wolverine, but it's sort of kind of just not Wolverine at the same time.
It was Hugh Jackman playing a different character called Wolverine in my eyes.
Kind of, yeah.
That's how I felt. I loved it, but I wanted something else going into it.
That's the multiverse.
That's why everyone hates it.
Yeah. I think that they did things really well with the story. There were weird things with the TVA and things that were missing, which we'll talk about in spoiler version, that I think we both agree on. But overall, the movie, I mean, it was very enjoyable. It was fun. It was fast paced. It had its epic moments. The humor was great. CGI, for the most part, looked really good. The fight sequences were on point. The whole opening sequence with him, and they do such a good job.
So creative.
Yeah, they do such a good job with that every time. And this time, the way they did it with the weapons he used are just, I mean, it was so funny. It was awesome.
They just came out swinging right from the start.
Sure did.
Like,
but that's pretty much what I got. Acting was great. Cinematography was really good. Story building, I would say, is 90% there.
How about in context to the overall MCU?
I'm excited to see where it goes. I think that it was so awesome seeing faces and references to the MCU for the first time, like actually using them. But I still feel like it's not there. Like, there hasn't been the crossover yet.
It didn't go as far as I expected and wanted it to.
I didn't either.
Yeah. I wanted to see more. I wanted to. I mean, it's hard to talk about without spoilers, so we'll just save that for the next episode. That's what I got. I'll give my rating after you guys run through your reviews. Eric, what do you got?
I hated Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm just kidding. I actually loved this movie. I think it's on par with Spider-Man: No Way Home.
I didn't like that movie.
Everyone loved that movie.
I know they did.
And you weren't really into Spider-Man that much, though.
No.
So Spider-Man felt far more emotional and impactful. And I think both these movies are kind of similar in the sense that they're doing these things that break the fourth wall, and you have all these returning characters and crossovers and multiverse and stuff. But this movie was so much fun. There's so many characters and cameos, and the thing that I really appreciated about the cameos in this movie is they don't just bring back like these big characters. There are so many cameo background characters that don't even have lines that are from movies that 75% of the people going to see this movie won't even realize that, oh, that dude was in that one scene of X-Men 2 or whatever.
Even the X-Men characters, like Toad was in there. Yeah. Was that Nightcrawler too?
That's a spoiler. That wasn't Nightcrawler, though.
It wasn't?
No,
okay.
It was... No. It's not really a spoiler. He's a nobody background character. Even in the movie he was in, it was... I think it was X-Men First Class. It's Azazel.
Oh.
I think it's like Nightcrawler's son in one of the comics or something like that.
I was going to say, it had the same...
Just like little things like that. Toad was in the trailer. Everyone saw that.
Yeah.
So many characters, more than I can remember. I need to see this movie again, and I'm going to see it again. I think the last MCU movie I saw twice was probably Spider-Man, because there's just so much to take in, and it's so much fun.
It was the last notable MCU movie too.
Pretty much, yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy was really good.
Oh yeah,
I did see that twice actually. In terms of negatives, there really weren't many. I would say that overall, I know this is stupid to say because it's a Deadpool movie, but I was hoping it would be a tad more serious than it was, just for like all of the multiverse crossover kind of hype we were getting. I was hoping for a little bit more of like seriousness, you know, and
I feel like it tried a couple times, but
a little
really
bit, but all the Deadpool movies kind of do that, where they have at the end there's like some kind of emotional, it's cut in between things, like they have a formula that they use, and they did it well and it worked. But I was definitely hoping for a little more intensity, I guess, a little more stake.
For sure.
I hope that they just keep Hugh Jackman forever.
I do too.
And in the, I think it was in the trailer or like one of the Comic-Con things, there's a line where Ryan Reynolds says, I think you went to the bathroom at this part. He said he's back and Disney's going to make him do this until he's 90. Oh, and then they do it again at the end of the movie. He looks at him and he's like, until you're 90.
Oh, yeah. I remember that line. It didn't make sense.
Yeah. And like, I really do think he'll be back because there's just, I think he loves it too much. Oh, yeah. And I can't wait to see Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool as the background character. Yeah. Like Avengers are fighting and he's in the background, like getting his arms ripped off. And you just kind of see it back there, like outside of his perspective for once.
back in the day in his first appearance.
I really liked how much the TVA was in this movie. I know a lot of people don't like the TVA for some reason. I love it. I don't know. It's the only thing that feels like it connects any of this crap anymore.
Yeah, without Loki, I don't feel like any of this makes sense.
Yeah, no, it really, it does. It still kind of doesn't make any sense.
They have to use it. Like, that's the hand they played, and now they have to like play it out.
And I wish they would do more. Like, Spider-Man should have had TVA stuff in it somehow. Like, it should be more prevalent and connected. And I felt like they used it a lot in this movie, and I really liked that. I thought it was a nice change to combine things. Yeah, I think pretty much the rest of what I have to say would be spoiler territory. So, Eric, what'd you think? You're
speaking of this is other Eric. He was on an episode of Furiosa, right?
Yeah.
We got him back today. And
yeah, hello, I'm other Eric.
Other Eric is a longtime friend and comic book collector back in the day.
Yeah, it's very interesting because this movie addresses the great injustice that Fox did to the X-Men, and I think this was the conclusion of that.
Yeah.
So it does have some kind of special meaning to me. But I think this is a bit of a spicy take. Like, Deadpool 1 and 2, I'd still call them, they're good movies, but like, I tell people when they ask me, I say, oh, it's fine. It's fine. Like, Ryan Reynolds is amazing as Deadpool. He's perfect. He is Deadpool. But the movies he finds himself in are rather lackluster, and they have some great action in them. The humor spot on, but like the story's just not there. The villain is just not there usually. Yeah. And I was pleasantly surprised in this movie that I rather enjoyed the villain. I thought she was great.
The first two Deadpool movies also felt very like confined to where you could tell that they could not get any big actors.
Yeah.
And that's why Colossus was in it every time. This movie, all of that is gone.
Yeah, it was a good feeling.
Yeah, it went bigger, and that's great. And it felt like the story actually meant something this time, whereas the story on the other ones just didn't matter. It really didn't. But like, they actually had me caring about what happened in the story, and I think that's super important. So yeah, it was great.
What did you not like about Deadpool and Wolverine?
Honestly, there wasn't much that I would say I didn't like. I would agree that the multi-pool was stretched on a bit too much, and it was probably like, even if that's like the low point, that's still pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I also think that Dogpool, by the end of the first scene with Dogpool, I was like, okay, we get it.
Yeah,
we get it.
Yeah.
The dog's ugly. We get it.
If the music hadn't been so spot on, I would agree with you. But they always introduce some kind of like music when the dog showed up, and I think that helped move it along
for sure.
And especially that with the multi-pool scene as well, the music, and they chose so many just perfect songs.
Dude, it was spot on. Every one of them just
so goofy.
They just all hit perfectly.
I read an article that Ryan was talking about how they had to go to Madonna to ask for permission to use Like a Prayer. And he said that she actually she not only did she say yes, but she added something that she wanted them to do in the movie, and he didn't tell what it was. And I'm trying to think if we could actually guess what it was that she suggested, because they said like it was perfect and they loved it and they included it.
That's awesome.
But maybe that's definitely in spoiler territory.
Is that what you got?
Yeah.
All right. On top of that, I want to add I forgot to talk about the editing, with the whole opening sequence and the first fight between Deadpool and Wolverine. The quick cut editing with the sound design is so on point. With the guns and the magazines and like just everything about it I just had a smile on my face the whole time. Every time one of those scenes came up where I knew it was about to be something epic, it really showed in the editing and sound design. It was so good. But you got anything to add?
No, that's it. I think we can do final ratings. And this is, again, Eric, this is going to be based on, other Eric. This is going to be based on your feeling leaving the theater.
Got it.
Not a day later after you've let it sit in.
And to be fair, we left like half an hour ago, so it's pretty fresh.
Right. So do you want to go first, or do you want me to do it?
I can go. I had a number in my head when I actually left the theater, or when I was standing in the theater. I have to knock it down a little bit after like soaking in for 10 minutes on the drive home. I'm going to go with the highest rating I've given to date, with an 8.6. If the CGI was on point all the way through, if Wolverine felt more like Logan to me, this would have easily been over a 9. But those two factors were pretty big for me. Not so much CGI, but the whole Logan thing, the whole movie was about him and Deadpool. So I felt like that was missing a big part for me. Going 8.6.
I saw some people compare this movie to taking your Marvel toys as a kid and just mashing them together. And that's exactly what this movie is, because as a kid, that was fun. And in this movie, it's also fun. So leaving the theater, I give this movie easily a 9. The things I didn't really like about it were personal things that I would have liked to see. I think for most people, this movie's probably going to be a 10. And I'm going to go see it again for sure.
Yeah.
So it's a 9 for me.
I'm going to end up giving it just a flat 8, which I feel is pretty good for me. I'm really pretty critical of movies nowadays. And I think it's just entirely that the Marvel Universe did not go as far as they needed to. And that's pretty much why I'm giving it an 8. Everything else it's a fabulous movie.
Yeah. What did you give Furiosa?
I feel like I also gave it like an 8.
Did you?
But I don't remember.
Yeah, I think I gave it like a 7.4.
Is this movie better or worse than Furiosa?
I would think it's about the same for me, honestly.
Really?
I enjoyed both of them quite a lot, and man, you really have to bust out something impressive, I think, for me to go above an 8 nowadays.
Yeah, that's how I feel. There were so many childhood connections in this movie for me that it's hard to give it under an 8 just because of the nostalgia factor.
Right. And I think that's fine. A lot of people rip on that or count that as a negative, but it's like it's part of the experience.
Yeah. Everybody's score is different.
Everybody's making a big deal about how the critics were actually scoring it lower than the previous 2 movies, and I'm just like, I don't put much stock into critics anyways. Like, a lot of them, I read some reviews that just said, hey, this is just, it's really close to what you described it as, the toys being mashed together, which I think is a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
And of course, that's going to just not be someone's cup of tea. But it works for Deadpool, honestly.
Like, if you didn't feel entertained during this movie, like, you have to be the most boring, dull person I've ever met in my entire life.
It's just, you're not going to enjoy any Deadpool.
Even if you think it's stupid, how could you not be entertained this entire movie?
Yeah, there's a lot of cleverness in the movie. So if you can't recognize that, I don't know what to tell you.
All right. Final question on our way out before we head over to Spoilerville. Eric, was this film art or entertainment?
It's entertainment.
Other Eric, is this film art or entertainment?
100% entertainment.
I agree. That's 3 entertainments.
There were some very artsy things in there.
Yeah, there was.
As a product, it's definitely entertainment.
Yeah, there was a team of marketers writing this film for a very long time, capitalizing on everything.
A lot of car sponsorships.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's another way. If Hugh Jackman grabs a bottle of Jim Beam, that probably wasn't in the script originally. That's something that they paid to get in there, and that changes it from art to entertainment for me.
They mention car names like 3 or 4 times in this movie.
Yeah, I think it was the main gripe was the same car brand too. Though.
Like there's a part where someone falls on a car and they're like, "Oh, that felt like a Kia" or something like that.
God. Not to mention the amount of commercials in front of the movie.
Yes. Let's talk about that in Spoilerville.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna head over to the podcast for the full spoiler episode. So if you're interested in finding out about that, go ahead and find that one next. It'll be somewhere on the screen over here. Or over here. Over here?
No.
Over here?
No. Right there.
Okay. Yeah, watch it over there.
There.
Thanks for coming on, Other Eric.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Peace out.
You're not going to thank me?
No.
Okay.